Hi there. I'm Hanno, and game master for the Critter role-playing group, the FAQCrew, and some other stuff outside of the internet. And I had the idea of trying to instigate a kind of game master chat where I talk to Critter game masters who want to see their face on YouTube, basically. and
Wait, that's not what I want. That's
right,
not my goal here.
well, you're the guinea pig, so
Yeah.
we're trying this out and see how it goes. So my first guest, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Janosch, or Chip, or Okonomador. I have lots of names. And I am a player in Hono's game, the FAQCrew, and in the Brunch Bunch as well. And I DM a game in real life. And I'm a fresh DM. I don't have much experience, but I guess it's something. I don't know.
We all have to start somewhere, and that brings
That's true.
me to my first question. Thank you. And that is, how did you start playing role-playing games, and how did you start being a DM?
Okay, well, I knew about role-playing games for a while, but I never really thought about them. And then basically Critical Role was the thing that introduced me what it really was. And I've watched from the first episode, but not live.
Yeah.
And then that's when it kind of got interesting to me, and I wanted to do it again too. So I hit some people up, some friends of mine, and they were like, "Well, let's do it for me." You know, they didn't think about it really. They didn't really want to do it, but they were like, "Well, let's do it for Janosch. It's gonna be fine." And now they're totally hooked, and it's great. It's amazing.
Great. Okay, so you actually started with D&D and not any other systems before that.
Yeah. I've only played D&D so far. Well, that's not entirely correct because I made my own role-playing game before, where I just DM'd a little bit for my brother and his friends, and I didn't even know what D&D was at that time. But I think I heard somewhere that some things like this exist, so I wanted to make my own.
Yeah.
And I did, and then years later, I guess it was 1 or 2 years later, I got introduced to Critical Role and D&D.
Okay, so you said you made your own role-playing game, and I know that your own campaign is a homebrew, so you are not running any board modules. Which brings us to the aspect of world building. How did you go about that?
Well, I love world building. I do it all the time. Even sometimes I build worlds in my head, and they don't get used. I don't write them down. I maybe draw a picture or two in that world, but that's it. So I'm kind of always world building. It's never a time where I don't. So when I start a story or a game or even a series of pictures, I always build the world first. That's
Okay.
just the first thing I do. And it was with my campaign too. I had an idea for a world and I started to draw a map and went from there, which is not the order in which most people do it, but I just love world building, so I'm gonna do it that way.
All right, that's great. And do you allow player influence in your world building? So ask for their backgrounds in advance to
Oh yeah.
incorporate their ideas.
Yeah, totally. Basically, a lot of their backgrounds influenced my world big time. Because what I did is I drew two maps, one of the continents and one of the continent they were going to play in. And I gave them those maps, and then I told them to do characters. And as they came up with the backstories, they always asked me, "Is this possible? Is this possible?" And I kind of always said yes. And now we have almost entirely homebrew classes and races. Well, not classes, but races.
Yeah.
And it's great. And the world is shaped for them.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. And moving from there, what kind of campaign do you run? So is it story driven or is it a bunch of big encounters?
I'm still kind of figuring that out. I still don't really know because I've had like 5 sessions, 6. I think I have 6 sessions, which are also my first 6 sessions. And I'm not entirely sure what my players want yet. Some of them are not against role-playing. Others just don't like it very much, I guess. So it's not a role-playing, an RP-heavy campaign. That's for sure. But I try to incorporate story as much as I can because I think story-driven games are better, in my opinion. And my players like the stories, but they don't engage in the role-playing as much, which causes me to also not engage in role-playing as much. But it's good fun. We're a bunch of casual players, and that's still fun.
All right. So, what type of adventures does your campaign consist of? So you said they're not really into role-playing or role-playing heavy. So it's mostly fighting the baddie of the week, or how is it made?
Not exactly. There is a story. There is a story, and they do role play, but we don't do as much voices, or we don't always speak in character. Sometimes we say my character does that, or something like that. So it's not like with our game, with FAQCrew, where it's almost all time in character. Yeah. So it's just different, but there's still a story. And up until now, it has been too linear for my taste, but that's just how the story went so far. And there's a big decision up ahead right now, so I can't talk about it because my roommate's right behind me.
All right.
And he's in the game. But yeah, so we have a story, and there are big encounters, and sometimes, well, I think it was the last episode, or the episode before that, session, where there was a lot of not fighting and it was a shopping episode, basically.
All right.
One of the players came up to me after that and said, "We didn't really fight today." And I was like, "Yeah, was that wrong?" And he said, "No, it wasn't wrong, but he told me that he likes a little bit of encounters, so I always put at least one in so they can fight a bit. But it's not like if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen."
All right. So what I gather from that is that your players also have a lot of freedom to decide the path that they want to take.
Oh yeah. I think they should have. Sometimes I have to guide them back, just because it gets impossible to DM the game. One time we have a Minotaur barbarian, which really does what he wants. His character doesn't give any fucks at all. So one time he jumped down a hole into a waterfall in a cavern, and there was metal bars in front of it, so it wasn't made to be jumped down, but he ripped out the metal bars with a natural 20, so he jumped just down, and then got lost from the group for 2 sessions. And that was the time where I kind of guided him back, where he got caught by guards, and he had to get back to the group, basically. Okay. Just because it got impossible to DM basically 2 scenarios through the whole game, and every time one group has to wait. I don't think that's great. So I do sometimes interfere a little bit, but 99% of the time they do what they want, and I just go with it.
Okay, so it's a bit of Deus Ex Machina if it helps the fun of all.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, speaking of rash decisions that players sometimes make, how, how do you or would you deal with a character death in game?
Oh man, that's a funny question because I just died.
Yeah, well,
Well, okay. For those who don't know, my character died in the last session where Hono DMs me, but that's another story. So it hasn't happened in my game, and I honestly don't know how I would react. I think it's okay for the DM to try to save the player if it makes sense.
yeah,
If it somehow can be incorporated into the story, and it shouldn't be easy. You shouldn't just be able to, oh, bring him to a temple and then he's awake again, because then they are not afraid of death anymore. And I think that's very important to be afraid of character death, because
yeah,
it helps grow attached to a character, and especially in my group, that's still kind of developing.
hmm,
So even me, I'm not attached to my NPCs yet.
yeah,
So that has to come over time. And I think if it's easy to kill off someone and bring him back or her, that it's not the same. The stakes aren't high enough, if
yeah,
that's the case.
yeah. I'd agree with that. And well, your character was only brought back because it made sense at that point.
Yeah, and also what you did, what I think is great, is you incorporated in a way that it had consequences,
Oh
long-term
yes,
consequences for the for the group, and we have to fear about those consequences now, and the stakes are even higher now because I was so stupid and died. So
yeah,
I died in a really stupid way. That was
yeah.
just unnecessary.
And
But yeah,
if you had been outside of the tower, I wouldn't have done that.
yeah, because it wouldn't have made sense.
Right.
Maybe there would be another scenario outside the tower where it would have made sense. I don't know because
Maybe.
I don't
Yeah.
know your world. But
Yeah.
maybe we did something or we will do something that helps that. As long as it makes sense, it's okay for the DM to interfere. But I also think it depends on the player's actions
Oh yes, absolutely.
to what they do. If they just like shrug their shoulders and, well, he's dead now, then the character doesn't really deserve to be brought back, I think.
Yeah. I
If all the players are brought to tears by it, except the one who's dead, it's another story.
yeah. Okay, so getting actually close to the finish. Tell me one of your favorite DMing or even playing role-playing anecdotes.
Anecdotes. Okay, well, my favorite DMing situation I was ever in was basically every time my group decides to go full bad shit on me and just goes wherever. I love that because they do that so well. Because all of their characters are made in a way where they don't give a fuck. They just care mostly about their themselves, which is kind of hard to control, but it's also fun because they just decide to rob a shopkeep in the middle of town where it's like a heightened alarm state in the
Okay.
town already, and it's just fun to do that and deal with the consequences, and that's great. So I think, but the one that stands out most was the one I already told when the Minotaur decided to jump down a
Yeah.
water hole, which I didn't even think about that happening. I didn't even think about that was how that would be possible, but well, he did. So that was great.
All right.
And role playing wise, I think my game doesn't have as much yet, but I love in our game the Goblin King one. That was amazing.
Thank you. Okay. So is there any advice or anything you want to tell to other DMs that you think is important when building or running a game?
Well, I don't have much experience, so I can only just say what worked for me so far, which is don't be afraid, first of all, from DMing, because it's not that hard. It's just dealing with your players and improvising, basically. Basically it's creating a sandbox. You want to create the environment because the story is mostly driven by the players. So you don't even have to prepare that much. You don't have to be a writer at all. You can just like, oh, well, here's a town I built, which has 4 sectors, and one of the sectors, there's a fire. Deal with it. And then you watch what the players do. That's the most fun, I think. And if there's a little bit of story in there, that's just good fun.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Janosch. You can follow this guy on Twitter at...
Akandamador. No one can say it. I guess you will type it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll put it in the description, of course.
And I'm at Akandamador on Twitter and basically nowhere else.
Right, and you will find me at Ronin at _Sama on Twitter and basically nowhere else. And well, that's it for the first attempt of the Game Master chat, and we'll see how it progresses from here. Thank you, Janosch, for volunteering.
Thank you for having me.
And see you soon.
Bye.